All right, this is Brother Peter again. Remember now, we're talking about the disciples. You remember the little song when you was in school? A, B, C, D, E. Now I've learned my ABCs. And this is kind of learning the disciples. And we're learning the disciples. We started with the first fruits, which was the leader, which was the man that they were following, which is Jesus Christ. And then we came to Simon Peter. And then we came to Andrew. And then James. And we need to learn these people. And then Philip and John and Bartholomew and Thomas. And now we come to Matthew. Now Matthew, who was Matthew? Would you be a Matthew when you get to heaven? Will you be a Matthew on this earth, not just when you get to heaven? Jesus chose the disciples. He picked 7 of them out of being fishermen, people that really knew that they had to, the job was just started when you went out and caught the fish. First thing you got to do is you got to learn how to prepare your nets. And when Jesus called me into salvation, I was an alcoholic. And I sat under a man that knew right quick like, it's not time to send you right back out, son. You need to get you some learning. You need to learn how to hang your nets up. You need to learn to put them and how to string your rope so they won't get around your feet when you throw the buoy over or the net over and catch you by the feet and take you down and drown you. You need to get some roots yourself, and once you learn how, you have to learn how to fish before you catch fish. And once you learn how, then you'll know how to bring the fish in. Now, I have caught some fish before I couldn't get on the boat. And the reason why is I was trying to do it in the flesh. Now, I've had people say that I've met years ago, as a matter of fact, all the time I meet people and say, hey, you don't remember me? You saved me in jail. I didn't save anybody. If I'd saved them, they'd have been just as lost as when I got there. Jesus Christ is the one that saved them. And I meet people sometime and they'll say, I say to them, and they'll say, you remember me? I was in jail 20 years ago. And I say, no. And I said, well, what are you doing? Did you hear what I said? Did you follow what I said? And they said, well, I did a while or whatever. Fell by the wayside. And I said, did you mean what you said when you asked Jesus to save you? And they said, yeah, I really did. Well, I said, if you did, get back on. Get back on. That's a picture of Thomas. He doubted, and then when Jesus came along and he saw him, he got a second wind. All right. There's some stories in Matthew. His original name was Levi. He has a man with 2 names again, Matthew and Levi. Matthew meaning gift of Yahweh, which is gift of God. The name Matthew was a gift of God. And when he became a follower of Jesus, he was a tax collector. Remember that? Tax collectors were not people that were desired by other people. When they met a tax collector, he was kind of distasteful in their thinking and their mouth to get him. And he was working when he made his profession near Capernaum. That Jesus came along and said, follow me and I'll make you a fishers of men. And he was at the toll office and he was collecting taxes. And he was making merchandise and carried over to Damascus on the road there. And he had also the duty of taxing the fishermen and the fishing industry of that area. Thus they had been ample opportunity for Jesus to meet Matthew before he called him to the ministry. Now Jesus probably had seen Matthew, and he probably had his eye on him, and he was watching him. And he watched him come over there and exact the taxes out of people. Now, here's Peter's a fisherman, and let's say Peter brought in $540 worth of fish one day, and he stood on there and he did all the work, skinned the fish, did everything. And when he took that money, and here's that tax collector standing there saying, hey, fella, I want the taxes off that money. It's kind of like the government today. They won't even let you eat dinner before they get their taxes. They want their taxes. And so here's Matthew, and that's the kind of guy he was. He wanted his, whether you ate dinner or not. He didn't care how much it cost him to go fishing. All he saw was the end result. They collected $540. And the truth of the matter was, it may have cost him $800 to go fishing that day. And if it did, and they'd have waited a week, and put that on a piece of paper, Mr. Matthew wouldn't have got any money, because he'd have found out those boys didn't make any money. They might have collected $540, but if they spent $800, they lost $300 and something. All right. So anyway, that's the kind of guy Matthew was. He was out there, and the Bible said, by the way, he was exacting taxes. That means he wasn't just out there, people weren't out there standing and saying, here's your tax money. No. He said, you either give me your tax money or I'm taking your boat. And so, all right. Let's see. All right, he was a tax collector. All right, and let's see what he was. Let's see. The commerce at the religious worship. He followed them. He followed the Jews. Then Matthew was a social outcast. He was a he wasn't a happy guy. People didn't want to be around him. But we're going to find that he becomes a great warrior for Jesus. Jesus, who looked at men's heart and judged them truly from their heart, called this social outcast to his ministry and made him a member of the highly privileged group that followed him to start the first church. Now, that was a privileged group, just like you are and I am, if we're asked into the kingdom of God, and we're a privileged group. But you know what a privileged group has to do? They have to work. They've got to prove themselves. You don't become privileged to sit back in a rocking chair and rock. You're privileged to be able to work in the kingdom of God and for God. By the way, where is the kingdom of God today? I'm telling you where it is. It's in you and me. We are the kingdom of God, if you please. We also are the church of God. We are the church that God is coming to get. We are the bride that God is coming to get. Now, Luke's gospel, it's called Matthew, about Jesus' ministry, goes on to tell that Matthew gave a banquet attended by Jesus, and a great number of tax collectors came. Now, those tax collectors, they reverenced Matthew in spite of the fact he was the outcast of the average person. Those tax collectors looked up to him because he was one of the better tax collectors. He knew how to exact, and that's, by the way, that's stealing the money from the people, and that's what those tax collectors were doing in that day. They were stealing the money from the people without representation or anything, or without the time, like I say, to go back and prove that they really owed that much tax. And this is Matthew's way of showing the gratitude to his master to bring these other tax collectors to this great thing. And these were despised people. They were dreadful sinners, and they were potential members of the people that wore knives in their coats. There was a group of people in that day that wore knives in their coats, and I can't get that back in my brain, but I will one of these days. Now, he was invited into the kingdom of God, and Matthew made many converts in Judea, and he evangelized the nations to the east. Nothing is known of him for certain, though. Simply the tradition about him that he was definitely martyred somewhere in the province of, there's no certain information in what province he was martyred in, but it was understood that later on he was martyred. And that's not in the Bible, but you know, and by the way, all the stuff that I read by these different people that were in that period of time that talks about these people is not really reliable as the Bible is. The Bible's absolutely, with every jot, that means every I is dotted, and every tittle, that means every T is crossed. That's where the Bible is. It's absolutely 100% true performance of words that say what they say and mean what they say and are true. But anything other than that historians tell you or anything, you can't take it as the pure gospel. However, time's come and gone. This is Brother Peter. It's been good to be with you today. The next excerpt